Chapter 8, Legacies and Farewells. The morning sun bathed Eldoria in a warm glow, signaling the dawn of a new era. The once battered kingdom stirred with activity as its people, resilient and determined, began the arduous task of rebuilding what Dracmoria's darkness had sought to destroy. Amidst the bustle of construction and the mending of shattered walls, Gareth, Elena, and Aldric stood in the heart of Eldoria. The scars of battle were still visible, but the spirit of the people burned brightly, fueled by the triumph over the shadows that had loomed for far too long. Gareth's armor, marked by the remnants of fierce combat, gleamed in the sunlight as he surveyed the efforts around him. The echo blade at his side seemed to resonate with the energy of the rejuvenated kingdom. Nearby, Elena, her sorceress robes bearing the marks of magical duels, focused on mending the arcane fabric of Eldoria. Aldric, adorned in archer's garb, directed the reconstruction efforts with the precision of a seasoned strategist. As the people of Eldoria worked tirelessly, their collective spirit mirrored the resilience that had defined them during the darkest hours. The once scarred buildings began to regain their former glory, and the scars of the land were gradually healed by the hands of its inhabitants. In the midst of the bustling activity, a herald stepped forward, a symbol of the kingdom's gratitude. The townsfolk gathered to witness a momentous occasion, the honoring of their heroes. Gareth, Elena, and Aldric were called to a makeshift dais adorned with flowers and banners displaying the emblem of Eldoria. King Aldric, flanked by his advisors and nobles, approached the trio. His eyes bore a mix of gratitude and admiration, a reflection of the kingdom's sentiments. With a voice that echoed through the square, he spoke words of praise for the heroes who had stood against the encroaching darkness.
Gareth, Elena, and Aldric.
The king's voice boomed.
We owe our freedom to your bravery and sacrifice. Eldoria stands strong today because of your unwavering determination. The Echo Blade, the Eetherial Core, and the wisdom of our strategic mind. These are the artifacts that delivered us from the clutches of Dracmoria. May the echoes of your valor resound through the ages.
A round of applause erupted from the gathered crowd as the heroes, humbled by the recognition, exchanged glances of acknowledgement. Medals of honor were bestowed upon them, symbols of Eldoria's enduring gratitude. As the ceremony concluded, the people of Eldoria returned to their tasks, inspired by the heroes who had led them to victory. Gareth, Elena, and Aldric, now adorned with their medals, joined the efforts to rebuild, their actions speaking louder than any accolade. The kingdom, though scarred, stood tall, a testament to the indomitable spirit that had triumphed over darkness. The sun hung low on the horizon as Gareth, Aldric, and Elena made their way through the rejuvenated streets of Eldoria. The once broken cobblestone paths now echoed with the sounds of rebuilding and renewal. The trio, adorned with medals of honor, moved with a sense of purpose, their reflections on the journey etched into their expressions. Gareth, the echo blade at his side, felt the weight of leadership settle on his shoulders. The victory against Dracmoria had given him a glimpse of what Eldoria could become, a bastion of unity and peace. As he walked, the bustling activity around him served as a canvas for his contemplation. He envisioned a kingdom where swords could be laid to rest, where diplomacy and collaboration would be the pillars of a new era.
The artifacts
Gareth spoke, breaking the thoughtful silence.
are symbols of our triumph, but also potential sources of conflict if mishandled. We must decide what role they play in Eldoria's future.
Aldric, his archer's gaze surveying the city's transformation, nodded in agreement.
Indeed, Gareth. The Eetherial Core, the Echo Blade, and the Stygian Amulet are powerful relics. We need to ensure they are safeguarded, their energies channeled for the benefit of Eldoria.
Elena, her sorceress robes swaying with each step, considered the artifact's future and her own.
Gareth, Aldric, these artifacts are tied to our destinies. We must decide if they remain with us or find a place where their powers can be preserved without endangering Eldoria.
As they approached the grand doors of Eldoria's palace, Gareth glimpsed the path ahead, a kingdom rebuilt, its people united.
Let us discuss this with the king. The artifacts are not just our responsibility. They belong to Eldoria. We must decide their fate together.
Inside the palace, the trio met with King Aldric, the artifacts displayed on a table in the council chamber. The king, still bearing the regalia of leadership, welcomed them with a solemn nod.
Gareth, Elena, Aldric,
The king began.
the artifacts have played a pivotal role in our victory. Now we must decide how to secure their power and ensure Eldoria's future.
As the discussion unfolded, Gareth, inspired by the collective wisdom in the room, considered not only the artifacts, but the paths that lay before them all. The destiny of Eldoria, he realized, was an intricate tapestry woven by the choices of its people. The new era beckoned, and the heroes stood ready to shape the kingdom's fate with unity and purpose. The council chamber echoed with the weight of decisions as King Aldric, Gareth, Elena, and Aldric gathered around the table bearing the united artifacts. The air was thick with contemplation, each member of the assembly considering the artifact's fate. King Aldric, his gaze fixed on the relics, broke the silence.
We cannot afford to underestimate the power these artifacts hold. The threat they pose if misused is too great. We must lock them away, deep within Eldoria's vaults, where their influence can be controlled.
Elena, her eyes on the Aetherial Core, spoke up.
Your Majesty, I've spent years studying the Aetherial Core. I understand its capabilities, and I believe I can continue to unlock its secrets without endangering the kingdom. I offer to safeguard it under careful study.
Aldric, standing beside the king, concurred.
I agree with His Majesty. These artifacts are not to be taken lightly. We must protect them at all costs to prevent them from falling into the wrong hands.
Gareth, his hand resting on the echo blade, interjected.
The artifacts were retrieved for Eldoria. King Aldric, you may decide what you deem fit for their safeguarding, but the Echo Blade has been in my family for generations. It will remain with me, serving Eldoria as it always has.
The king, his expression resolute, surveyed the group.
The artifacts represent a delicate balance between power and danger. We cannot afford discord among us. We must find a solution that ensures their protection without stifling our potential.
The discussion continued, each voice contributing to the deliberation on how to preserve the artifacts. As the council continued its deliberations, the door to the chamber creaked open, and Selene silently entered, her presence carrying an air of enigmatic intensity. The occupants turned their attention to her, Gareth's eyes meeting Selene's with a curious glance. Selene, her expression unreadable, inquired,
"What do you plan to do with the artifacts?"
King Aldric, considering her question, responded,
We are deciding their fate, Selene. The artifacts hold immense power, and we must ensure they are safeguarded against misuse.
Elena added,
I've offered to continue studying the Aetherial Core. Its mysteries are vast, and with careful examination, we might better understand its capabilities.
Aldric, standing firm in his stance, emphasized,
But they must be protected. We cannot risk their influence falling into the wrong hands.
Gareth, still with a hand on the echo blade, spoke,
The artifacts were retrieved for Eldoria. We must find a solution that ensures their protection without stifling their potential.
Selene, her gaze fixed on the united artifacts, remained silent, her intentions unclear. King Aldric, after a moment of contemplation, declared,
We will keep the artifacts in a well-guarded chamber within the castle. Elena, you may continue your studies, but only within that chamber. It will be secured against any external influence.
Elena nodded in agreement, acknowledging the king's decision. Selene, showing no visible reaction, continued to observe the proceedings silently, her thoughts veiled behind a stoic facade. As the king concluded the council session, he rose from his seat, followed closely by Aldric and Elena. The trio exited the chamber, leaving Gareth and Selene alone with the artifacts. The room fell into a tense silence. Only the faint echoes of footsteps retreating down the corridor lingered. Selene's gaze remained fixed, on the united artifacts, her eyes tracing the lines and contours of each relic with an inscrutable intensity. Gareth, still holding the echo blade, felt the weight of the moment settle around them. In the wake of the departing figures, Celine's voice broke the silence, soft but laden with a mysterious edge.
They fear what they don't understand, Gareth.
Gareth, looking at Celine, questioned,
"What are your thoughts on the artifacts, Celine? You've been quiet throughout the discussion."
Celine's expression revealed nothing as she responded,
Power can be a double-edged sword. It depends on who wields it, and for what purpose.
Gareth, contemplating her words, replied,
"I retrieved the Echo Blade for my family, for Eldoria. I'll continue to wield it, regardless of where they choose to keep it."
Celine's eyes narrowed slightly, and in a voice that seemed to resonate with hidden knowledge, she said,
The artifacts have a destiny of their own, one that goes beyond the plans of kings and kingdoms.
As Celine turned away from the artifacts, Gareth's gaze followed her movements. Before she could take more than a step, he spoke, a note of urgency in his voice.
"Celine, we agreed that once the battle was over, you would take the Stygian Amulet. But why now, in the midst of this discussion?"
Celine paused, her back still turned to him, and spoke without looking back.
The time is ripe, Gareth. I need the amulet, and I won't wait for the decision of kings to fulfill our agreement.
Gareth, torn between duty and loyalty, took a step closer.
"Celine, we need to consider the implications of taking the amulet now. The kingdom is in a delicate state, and its people are looking to us for guidance."
Celine turned to face him, her eyes gleaming with determination.
This is not about the kingdom, Gareth. This is about me. There are threats I must face, ones you cannot fathom.
Gareth, conflicted, sighed.
"I understand your concerns, Celine. But the timing is crucial, and taking the amulet now might sow discord when we need unity the most."
Celine's gaze hardened.
Discord or not, I will not compromise my safety for the sake of appearances. If you stand in my way, Gareth, I won't hesitate to fight.
The tension in the chamber escalated, Gareth torn between his loyalty to Eldoria and his promise to Celine. The united artifacts, silent witnesses to the unfolding drama, seemed to hold their collective breath as the fate of the Stygian Amulet hung in the balance. Celine's stern expression softened as she met Gareth's conflicted gaze.
Gareth, you must understand. By taking the Stygian Amulet now, I ensure that the artifacts remain separated. It's a safeguard, not just for me, but for Eldoria. If all the artifacts are kept together, it becomes a tempting target for those who seek their combined power.
Gareth, still grappling with the weight of responsibility, hesitated. Celine continued, her voice carrying a touch of urgency.
Our enemies are cunning, and the unity of these artifacts poses a threat. Keeping the amulet with me will make it more challenging for them to exploit their combined strength. It's a strategic move, one that protects not just me, but the kingdom we fought so hard to save.
Gareth's gaze flickered between Celine and the artifacts. The room felt charged with the echoes of their recent victory and the delicate dance between trust and necessity. After a lingering moment, Gareth nodded, a reluctant acceptance in his eyes.
"Take the amulet, Celine,"
he finally conceded.
"But promise me that you'll wield its power with care, and that it won't be turned against Eldoria."
Celine nodded solemnly.
I swear it, Gareth. The power of the Stygian Amulet will serve as a shield, not a weapon, protecting both me and the kingdom we cherish.
As Celine reached for the amulet, the artifacts, now set on separate paths, seemed to settle into a newfound harmony, one forged by compromise and the recognition of the intricate balance between individual destinies and the destiny of a kingdom. Gareth stood in the chamber, gazing at the once united artifacts, now placed in a well-guarded vault. The Echo Blade, a symbol of his family's legacy, retained its place at his side. As the doors creaked open, revealing the familiar figures of Elena and Aldric, Gareth greeted them with a somber smile. The trio reunited, their bond forged through the crucible of battle. Elena, eyes sparkling with curiosity, couldn't contain her questions.
Gareth, what transpired with the artifacts? How has Selene fared with the Stygian Amulet?
Gareth took a deep breath, reflecting on the events that unfolded.
Selene took the amulet. It was a difficult decision, but she made a compelling case. By keeping the amulet separate, she believes it safeguards Eldoria from potential threats.
Aldric, his keen eyes studying Gareth, nodded in understanding.
It's a delicate balance, Gareth. Sometimes sacrifices must be made to ensure the greater good.
Elena, ever the inquisitive scholar, pressed further.
And the Echo Blade? How does it feel, wielding such a powerful artifact?
Gareth's gaze shifted to the gleaming blade at his side.
It feels like a responsibility, Elena. A connection to my family's legacy, and a reminder of the sacrifices made to protect Eldoria. The artifacts are a part of our history, and we must wield them with wisdom and caution.
As the trio lingered in the chamber, echoes of destiny reverberated in the air. The artifacts, now dispersed for the sake of balance, held the potential for new tales and adventures. Eldoria, once shrouded in darkness, emerged into the light, its future shaped by the heroes who had faced the shadows and triumphed. And so, the legacy continued, an enduring tale of unity, sacrifice, and the echoes of destiny etched into the annals of Eldoria's history.